Sydney with Tastefully Frugal, and today's project is something that if you have a 3 or 4-year-old in your life, they are going to absolutely love. Well, it's not really one project. We're going to be making a lot of projects, but all in one, it is a customizable play restaurant kit. Now, this is a super easy kit to make. It's really affordable too. I was able to get all of the different pieces at Walmart, and I spent less than $20 for everything. Plus, I was able to customize everything. My daughter was able to pick the colors that she wanted, and I was able to put her name on everything. And all of the images that I used are in Design Space. So I've linked that Design Space canvas, there's multiple canvases in the description for this video. So you could go in and you can change the name to customize it for your son or daughter or grandchildren or anyone that you'd make this for too. So we're going to be working with a variety of materials today. We're going to be working with everything from deluxe paper and the writable smart paper. We'll be working with vinyl, we'll be working with infusible ink, we'll even be working with iron-on. And everything today I made with the Cricut Joy. This makes projects super quick and easy because everything we're able to do was able to cut matte. Okay, not everything. The vinyl, we did use the mat, but it's super easy to cut with a mat. I was able to make all of these projects from start to finish in less than an hour. So definitely is a really easy project. If you don't have a Joy, that's completely okay. This is a project that you can make with the Air 2 or the Maker as well. I just wanted to show how easy it is to use the Joy. So if you prefer to read the tutorial, I have linked my blog post with all of the details in the description for this video as well. But we'll be taking a look at each project and I'll show you how to put every project together. So let's go ahead and hop in and get started.
All right, first I want to start here on our canvas in Design Space. You'll see that we have the logo that we're doing, but it's in several different colors. The reason that I did different colors is so I could easily differentiate when I click Make It what was what. So the orange is infusible ink, the purple is vinyl, and the pink is our iron-on. So let's click Make It. And here on the screen, this gives you the option of how you want to cut your material. Since we're using different materials, some with a mat and some without, we'll click multiple ways. And then on the left side, we'll just pick on each layer if we're going to do it with a mat or without a mat. Also, if the material that you're using is infusible ink or iron-on, make sure that you mirror those layers as well. So these first 3 layers are infusible ink and or iron-on. So we are changing that from not having the mirror on to mirroring it. Also, the light blue is going to be in iron-on, so we're mirroring it. But everything else, so the dark blue and the purple is vinyl. So that we are not going to mirror, but because we are using premium vinyl, we're going to put on matte. Once you have all of the options selected, click Continue. Next, you'll want to connect your Joy to Design Space. Just make sure your Joy is plugged in. And now we can select our material. If you don't have your material that you see here in the drop-down menu, you can click Browse More Materials. But since the item or the material that we'll be using first is Smart Iron-On, we'll go ahead and select Smart Iron-On. And then after you select your material, you'll be prompted of what to do in your machine. So we're just going to load our iron-on into the machine, shiny side down. And then once the machine measures to make sure you have enough material, you will have the option in Design Space to press the Go button to begin cutting. So you'll just click the green Go button in the bottom right corner, and it will begin to cut. Now, when your machine is done cutting, the only way to unload your material, whether you're using a mat or without a mat, is to unload it in Design Space. So you can go ahead when it's done cutting, click the Unload button, and then this screen will pop back up where you can choose your material again. It will automatically connect to the Joy, but you can change different materials. Now, if you are using a material that needs a mat, I do recommend cutting it down to size. And I like to cut it down to size, not just for the mat, but for the cut. So I use this Cricut cutter, the paper cutter that we just showed, and I just cut everything down to size, load it onto the mat. And just like you would if you're doing matless, load your mat into your Joy when you're prompted to do so in Design Space, and then click Go and unload in Design Space as well. We're doing the same thing here for infusible ink. I do get a lot of questions on which side of the infusible ink to load. So infusible ink transfer sheets, you're always going to want to load the colored side up, and then it is like iron-on. So make sure that your design is mirrored in Design Space before cutting. So you can use either the standard grip mat, which is this green mat, or the light grip mat, which is the blue mat, for any of these materials. Either one works fine. Let's go ahead and weed our pieces right now. So the easiest way to weed is to use Cricut's weeding tool and to start in the top left corner and then slowly peel away at an angle, and then just use that weeding hook again to get the center pieces of all of your pieces that you have. Infusible ink, I will say, is different though. You do not want to use a weeding tool with infusible ink because it can press some of that ink into the backing sheet and it will come off on your project. So only use your fingers to weed infusible ink, but anything else, iron-on, vinyl, anything else, you can definitely use the weeding tool, and I've linked that in the description for the video as well. So with infusible ink, because everything you want to do in what is in one press, what you want to do is take off, if there's layering pieces, you want to take off the individual pieces. So like the center pieces here, this teacup and or the teacups and the teapot, and layer it on the center of your bigger piece of infusible ink transfer sheet. I like to have Design Space open when I'm doing this so I can make sure that I have the proper layout. Next, for infusible ink, what you'll want to do is just clean your coasters with a lint-free cloth. This comes in the transfer sheet box, and then you're going to put your infusible ink transfer sheet on your coaster. So you'll do it ink side down, and then use the blue roll that I showed you just a second ago as heat resistant tape. So you want to use that to tape the transfer sheet down on the back of the mat, because it is going to be pressed for about 4 minutes. So you want to make sure that those transfer sheets aren't moving at all. You can press these all at the same time, but I like to do one at a time just to make sure I get a clear press. To do this, you want to have your easy press down or your easy press mat first, and then cardstock. Then put your coaster down, face down first, parchment paper, and then press at 400 degrees for 240 seconds. Once you have pressed for the full 240 seconds, remove your coaster from the easy press mat and let it completely cool before you peel the transfer sheet. It is going to be very, very hot. So once it is cooled, you just remove that transfer sheet and you have your finished coasters. All right, next, let me show you, since we have our easy press out already, let me show you how to make the napkins and the t-shirt. So you'll want to preheat your napkins for about 5 seconds before you place your iron-on on, and then just measure your design to make sure it's centered in the design. I like to put the easy press mat in between the two napkin layers so that you're getting the full heat onto that top layer. Then you'll press it 315 degrees for 30 seconds. Once it's done for the 30 seconds, you'll flip it over and press on the back side for about 15 seconds. Let your your napkin completely cool before removing the backing. Once it's cooled, you'll want to put that center teapot design on, and then put the backing from the Big Molly's Cafe back on to protect your big circle. You'll press for, again, 30 seconds on the front and 15 seconds on the back, and let it completely cool again before removing those two backing layers. Once it's completely cooled, you can remove both that top big piece of the backing and then the smaller piece of the backing as well. You'll do the same process for the shirt, where you press the big circle first and then do the small teapots afterwards. All right, now we're going to go ahead and make our cups and bowls. So once you have everything weeded, you'll want to measure your transfer tape and place your transfer tape on top of all of your pieces. You can do it individually if you want to cut the pieces first, or you can do it all at once and then cut them after the transfer tape is on. But you'll want to make sure that you use your scraper tool to burnish that transfer tape into the backing. Also press on the backing like I showed you to make sure that you get that teacups and the teapot on there smooth. Next, you'll remove the backing from the teapots and center it on your design. Once you have it centered, go ahead and use that scraper to press it on and just peel it back. Now, once you have your teapot and teacups in the middle, you'll want to measure your transfer tape again and use the same process of pressing the transfer tape into the top of your design with the scraper tool, and then also pressing on the back of the backing just to make sure that you have your design on the design on the transfer tape and not the backing anymore. So we're going to cut this down to size, and then we're going to just peel the backing tape, or peel the backing off of the transfer tape, and just center our design in the bowl. Now, because a bowl is kind of a tough surface, you can use your scraper tool or just use your fingers really well and peel away that transfer tape as close to a 90-degree angle as possible, just to make sure that you don't have any lifting of your vinyl. So as you can see, you do the same thing for the cups as well. Next, let's put together our ketchup and mustard bottles. These were so easy to make. I just used the Smart Vinyl, which is the matless vinyl, and I just made ketchup and mustard for the bottles themselves. And then I took two pieces of tissue paper, 2 red and 2 yellow, and stuffed them inside the bottle to make it look like ketchup and mustard, and then just put the lid back on. My daughter has absolutely loved this, and I wanted to make sure it was something that if she did get the lid off, it wouldn't make a huge mess. And so far, so good. Next, let's talk about the menus that I showed you earlier. These were super fun to make, and as you can see, we used the Smart Label writable paper to make them. But let me hop into Design Space and show you how to do this first. So once you go to your Make It portion, you'll see here that it has all of the menus on one sheet. Since the Smart Label paper is only 11 inches long, we need to move the second part. So you're going to click the 3 buttons, and then click Move Object. Then you'll click New and select a new mat. Now you'll notice that the mat down at the bottom, it still has it centered at the bottom of the mat. So just click where it says Lunch, that second part of the menu again, and just drag it up to the top. I've already sized these menus, the wording, so that they're centered on the paper, so you don't have to do anything for the width. So we have all 3 of our mats ready to go. We'll do the same process where we connect our joy, and then we're going to select the Smart Label writable paper from our materials, and then just unload your Cricut Joy blade, load the pen into your joy, and then just like you did with the Smart Iron-On, load your Smart Label paper into the joy and let the joy do its job of writing. I absolutely love watching the joy and any of the Cricut machines do writing. It's so fun to me to see how they write it and the different words and lines they do first. It's just really interesting to me. So once everything is written, you'll have the option in Design Space to unload your mat. So when you unload your mat, you'll want to start by peeling off just a little bit of that Smart Label paper from the top, lining it up on your cardstock. Just make sure it is pressed well, and then just pull back on the backing and it will line everything up on your cardstock. Again, this design is sized so it perfectly fits on a half sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock. Then we're going to just tape that cardstock into our full menu. I ran out of my favorite art glitter glue, so glue sticks had to do, and I'm happy to say that the glue sticks are still holding up. We haven't had any issues with the menus over the last week or so. You'll have do the same process for the other side, and then you have your menu put together.
What 4-year-old wouldn't love having their own customized restaurant kit to play with every day? Like I said, all of everything that I got here, I was able to get at Walmart. I've tried to find links for everything. Some of the things in the store, like the cups, were 50 cents each, and I just can't find them online. But I've linked everything else that I used in the description to this video. As I mentioned at the beginning, all of the design space canvases are linked in the video as well, so that you can go in and customize them with your own name or your kids' names or whoever's name you're going to use. And I've linked all the products that we're using, as well as the blog post with the full written tutorial in the description for this video as well. If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up, and I'd love to have you subscribe to Tastefully Frugal for more Cricut tips, tricks, and tutorials. Have a great day.